those are going to be some pretty formidable opponents. So let's see if they can do it today against KT. They need a tie. That's the maximum they can get up to this point. And maybe against the A-team later on, they could surprise us all with a stellar performance. But as it is right now, there's a lot of work to be done, so they better activate all their peons at once.
Kiaru never actually got a single kill that game, but he was able to do so much damage that he was able to basically set up for almost all of his team's kills, especially in the team fights. You could see all of those health bars were a sickly green as his Reaper's Mark was applied and doing very high amounts of damage.
Yep. Gotta give it to Lotus, a player that likes to change his nickname every phase. It seems formerly known as Lycia, just in case you remember that face. Yeah, pretty solid player. He's been in the league for so long as well. I think he started back with Hot's Lady in 2017, early 2017, late 2016.
I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe?
He used to be Hot's Lady Justia. You remember?
Yes. Yes, so it was Hot's Lady. So yeah, you are correct. I believe, I believe that was 2016-17.
Yeah.
Early 2017, I think.
What a veteran. Just refuses to let go of HGC China. Still sticks around in a team here and there. And really cool to see that.
So now then, we head into our map number 2, a second Volskaya Foundry game of the day. We're seeing, well, very consistent bans. Diablo, Genji removed. Will we perhaps see a Maiev or a Malthael ban this time from KT after what just happened to them? Sticking with white main.
There's two scenarios. First scenario, they're going to ban one of the heroes you mentioned, Malthael or Maiev, because they seem to be, unable to adjust to that playstyle. Or if they're confident enough and if they say, like, okay, we lost because we misplayed, not because of the enemy heroes that they picked, they're probably going to let it go through. But no. They say Maiev is pretty good, especially on this map where there's conveyor belts that might actually give her an additional window to land those tethering. So those tethers, sorry. Decker can immediately secure it after Sally Whiteman is no more. I like that choice.
Yep. So that leaves heroes like Alexstrasza, Karazim. There's still really good supports around these days. Malfurion as well. But it's a fact of Deckard is the highest priority right now. But it means TeamNut don't have to pick their support yet. They start off with a Li Ming, already someone who, if Hammer is picked by KT, can actually punish her effectively. And the Arel, control of that top lane.
I thought about the exact same thing here, right? When the Li Ming is getting picked, it's basically them saying, we dare you to pick that Sergeant Hammer, because whenever she sieges up, we're going to blast those arcane orbs into them. It looks like KT is not willing to show that Sergeant Hammer yet. You brought up a really good point, I think it was last week, at some point, saying that KT used to be the first team in China to actually adapt to that Sergeant Hammer style when it was still fresh and new.
Now a lot of the other teams seem to have adopted it, which is good news for starters, because obviously it does mean variation, and the Hammer is a very strong hero. It could still be picked up by either of these teams, quite frankly, at this stage. But we already mentioned how Li Ming is already one of the newer counters, or at least in HGC China, bringing out that Seeker, maybe even with Charged Strike sometimes.
Waiting for the first Brabna Zibo.
Yes, we are. I don't believe we've seen it at all in HGC China yet, right?
No, we still haven't seen it yet. While it was picked in other regions, during tournaments, during league play, as a counter to that Sergeant Hammer, we have yet to see any team actually give any chance, any trust into the Voodoo Doctor, which would make me very happy.
Yeah, Malfurion for
this
the
map,
moment.
it's one of his better ones.
It is. You can stack it fairly easily. There's the Sergeant Hammer. So if there was a time to see the Nazebo,
it would actually still fit the comp as well. They still need a Sieger / ranged assassin. If there's one team willing and crazy enough to execute it with a mental drafter sometimes like Timeless, it would definitely be KT. So channel your voodoo magics. I'm feeling it, Tencher. I could just feel it.
I'm hoping your feeling is correct. No, sticking with a classic. Sticking with a classic Chromie.
At least we have a little bit of craziness now added, a little bit of spice to that draft. It isn't the Nazebo, so the Voodoo Magics were replaced by Time Sand Magic. Let's see what Chromie, a hero that was changed and I think it's safe to say nerfed a little bit as well with the most recent balance updates. Does she still have the punch tetcher to punish? Okay.
Intriguing. So, Varian, that is... Excuse me for starters. I'm curious. I mean, why? Like, anti-healing against this composition would be very reasonable. Varian doesn't offer this.
This is...
The hard engage. It's a decent front line for Hammer. That's... I am interested.
First of all, let me tell you that how happy I am to see my baby boy Varian being deployed again. It's been rough for him, you know, rough times. Neglected and ignored by most regions. China brings him back in a game like this. Unfortunately, it is the least successful team in China that brings him out. So what is the thought process here? Let's think about it. Chromie still has outstanding burst damage against single targets when she locks them down with the temporal loop. Varian could go for the shield wall, level 10. Maybe gives him a little bit of extra protection against that Chromie damage. Alternatively, Tetra, we could maybe see an aggressive Varian applying a little more pressure onto heroes like Chromie. Doesn't necessarily have to be taunt. We could even see shenanigans coming in like a Colossus Smash. Who knows what TeamNut has prepared for us?
I'm very curious. I mean, a Twin Blades could be very cool. The amount of persistent pressure and chase potential it can offer onto someone like Chromie, who is not mobile, is basically inescapable from.
So
it's so odd.
Let's actually take a final look at the draft here, because I believe I saw an Urel for TeamNut. So in theory, yep, there it is, Urel. So in theory, they still need a main tank. The question is, can they give up on the main tank role and just make up for it by applying additional pressure with, as you said, a Twin Blade variant or a Colossus Smash? I still think it's going to be taunt most likely, guys. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to predict that, but it's still going to be a rough ride for Varian. I don't think this is the comp that we see him with normally. TeamNut with Mercia, Tui, Malthael, Nightmare, and Dia.
And on the right-hand side, it is KT with TWT, Kiaru, Lotus, Timeless, and Bad.
All right. Normally, like, back to the Varian real quick here before we start talking about other things. Normally, the Varian compositions that we used to see a few months ago were always aggressive ones. You had a Greymane in the mix with Curse Bullet as a follow-up, for example. You had Genji Li Ming as a double reset factor to benefit from that lockdown, from that taunt. This is basically quite the opposite. You have two long-distance pokers with Sergeant Hammer and Li Ming. I mean, Li Ming sure still has that reset combo potential, but you need to have burst follow-up damage to really guarantee those to happen. So, as a Varian main myself, I remain a little skeptical about the value that we might to see here, but look at that. At least they're rocking the right skin for Volskaya.
It is looking pretty good. The Commandant Varian, as he is starting, like we said, with the Lion's Fang, so extra damage and potentially extra healing later on if he wants to. Very good on this map where poke is important. Hammer already giving Chromie stacks. Remember, this is new Chromie, so Bronze Talons is no longer really a thing.
It is not really a thing anymore, but what is still a thing is the Time Walker's Pursuit, of course, being one of the most versatile, most useful talents in the game. It offers so much, you know, mana regen, spell power, reveal. What more could you ask for?
So with level 2, already online for Chromie, are we going to see that Draconic Barrage, which is the version of the Bronze Talons that she does have, or will we see something like the Enveloping Assault, sticking with the more the more W-based build, the Dragon Breath-based build? We are going to see the Draconic Barrage, so increase the damage from Bronze Talons, which is basically a Chromie baseline now, by an additional 100%. And when you hit a hero with your Sandblast, it applies Bronze Talons to Chromie's next 2 basic attacks as opposed to 1.
So she's going to have a little more pew-pew in her auto attacks, a little bit more oomph to it as well. Nightmare, by the way, on that variant was in a pretty precarious situation here because he wasn't even level 4 yet, so he didn't really benefit from the additional health when he was surrounded and outnumbered by enemy heroes. But thanks to that strong healing coming in from a Tui, he was kept alive just long enough.
Nightmare just hovers around for the moment. He could be dropping Qs right now. I don't know why he was being so patient unless it was on cooldown. That is my most recent assumption.
All right, we saw turrets being, you know, grabbed by both teams, but now this is a different beast. This is the healing camp here, currently being aggroed by KT. They're setting up, posturing up here. Both warriors, both frontliners in place. Varian is trying to make something happen. The taunt is now ready already.
He's holding it together as Blaze runs out of health. Now needs to run out of dodge, and he will escape as the healing pulse is picked up by TeamNut, who already have a pretty okay experience lead. But can they keep this up into the objective?
Yeah, actually, really nice win for TeamNut here in the early game. They have an item lead right now with that healing pulse. As he said, Irel probably took it, I believe, because I can't see it on any of the other members here. So let's see when Irel is actually deciding to join on this. She shouldn't wait too long because the healing pulse might be crucial when it comes to winning that first protector. And the first protector is also important. Timeless, though, is just playing the time game here quite literally. Just trying to bait a couple of abilities onto him. Not really trying to make a play because Blaze is still busy and occupied in the top lane, soaking and deep pushing.
Mercy having to unsiege fairly consistently due to the amount of pressure being applied by the Chromie, at least for the moment. Nightmare. Quick dance onto Timeless. Wraps around. Looks for his opportunity.
Yeah, needs to be careful, though. Varian is not the tankiest of tanks around in the current meta, but look at Dia holding it together. Basically using a turret here. A bit of extra zoning and damage.
Good body block preventing the slide out, and down goes Kiaru. Chromie was able to get a little bit of damage in the meantime, but bad. Not dropping enough as the control point still sits in favor of TeamNut.
Yeah, they didn't even have to use that healing pulse Tetra. It looks like Bat's damage at the moment is just not good enough. What can they do here? The protector goes in favor of TeamNut here. Support is in. Li Ming is in there as well, so pushing-wise, TeamNut needs to be very cautious. They don't have sustain right now with them. So already they're spreading out, they're splitting into all those lanes, trying to extend their experience lead by quite a large margin, which actually at this point is tremendous. One entire level off this early game.
Nightmare looking for Lotus, not getting it though. Too much mobility on that natural agility. As we are seeing the extra healing coming in for Varian on that Q, so once again making the most of the fact that he's going to have to be poking. Will not always be going aggressively all in. This is a much safer build coming in for the Varian. Protector, taken down a couple front walls, but is not going to get much more value as such. Pulls back to not put its occupants in danger.
Honestly, I think at this point, TeamNut has done everything correctly. They're basically trying to get to make sure that they get as many towers as possible. Early experience is all they need, and for them to keep that Chromie in check as well, it's just so cool to see that. Li Ming in particular, who is played by Malthael, has landed a couple of arcane orbs and magic missiles onto Chromie, preventing her from actually acquiring that safe spot, that safe position in which she can just barrage from a safe distance.
With Temporal Loop, though, it's going to be much harder to avoid. Needs to make sure you get the right target, though, because Hammer is an interesting one. She has siege tactics, but hover siege, so she has to actually hover slowly enough to get out of range of the Mobius loop, of the Temporal Loop, sorry, while still being able to get that siege tactics up. So it's weird to say that in this case, the counter to a combo of Sergeant Hammer is to stay sieged up and move away in hover siege mode. It's not a usual reaction.
And Nightmare, using his map awareness there, immediately spotted that something fishy was going on for KT. They tried to get another turret, immediately stolen and claimed by the Alliance. Definitely cool to see that. Level 10 now online. We're going to see the shield wall, as I said, a more burst protection now against heroes like Chromie. But we also see the BFG Tetra coming in for Sergeant Hammer. More burst than even the Twilight Dream.
Oh, yeah. We're seeing a lot of bursts here. The Twilight Dream as well with the Wave of Force. These are two potential preemptive counters to the Mosh Pit that could be coming in for ETC, so very reasonable there. But they gotta be careful about playing around Bunker. If Bunker goes down, that could be a big waste of damage output.
Yeah. So basically, they want to pop one target immediately now, TeamNut that is. They're gonna lock it down with a taunt and then follow it up with both Twilight Dream and BFG if they get the impression that this might be a pursuable kill. And then, of course, you have Li Ming reset, so this could very quickly, like the moment one target dies after a variant taunt, I think, for KT, that's where the teamfight might be lost already.
Lotus hovers around, sees Nightmare, but Nightmare's able to pull back. He does not have an escape, so needs to make sure that his positioning is on point. Otherwise, if he is stun locked, then obviously can't use shield wall and will be a very easy target to kill.
Yeah, if he had gone for the Warbringer, that would have been a different story, because then he could have actually charged two friendly targets. The lockdown on Hanzo is good, but the damage arrives just in the nick of time there. Just one tiny bit was missing there. I think the BFG, if I had been the Sergeant Hammer, I probably would have saved it. But when the call is made, that the roots are landed and the taunt as well, then you sometimes have no choice to really follow up on it. Now, though, without the BFG... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, literally that. Sometimes you just commit and go for the blow-up.
Exactly.
The cooldowns are worth it. If you get the kill, it's worth it. If not, then you just have to play a little bit safer. This is the objective of TeamNut right now. Play safer until they get those cooldowns back.
Looks like this is going to be the healing pulse available for KT right now. ETC picks it up as quickly as possible. You definitely want to make sure that you do not slip on this. Sergeant Hammer takes a little bit of extra poke by Bad. But now with Urel and Blaze not really participating actively here, who's going to secure the first couple of percentage points on that Protector? Looks like TeamNut is actually giving up on this, and they're trying to set up for Blaze in the bottom lane altogether. Knock back.
Yeah.
Not there.
Yeah, and Kiaru 2 on point with these reactions. So far, only 1 kill in this game again, due to the quick reactions of TeamNut. Despite the aggressive rotations of TeamNut, KT have been able to play around them.
So I like what TeamNut is doing. By the same token, though, they're completely ignoring this Protector. So there's 2 things for them to do right now. Either they ignore it altogether, and they try to get some value in the middle. That fort is basically exposed already. Or they're grouping up in time and trying to get back onto the platform here. Looks like they're going for the latter. We see Irel and Varian both in position. Chromie not getting taunted here.
And looking for the opportunity. There's the taunt onto ETC. He still has Mosh. Remember, power slide. Gets it on Malfurion, who gets executed. But down goes Blaze. Healing pulse stolen and immediately used by Malthael from TeamNut as they move forward, looking for Kiaru. Good wave of force, and they take him down.
That was an amazing play by Timeless. However, it was not perfect because ETC was brought down still. There we see the wave of force again to interrupt the Chromie combo. So well played. I think Li Ming was probably my match winner, my team fight winner, because they lost their support so early on, who was trying to get that Twilight Dream off. Look at that Tui here. He's going in, trying to get it done, gets interrupted and mosh pitted. But Timeless actually, because he was still stuck in that channel, wasn't able to use his healing pulse and gave it to the enemy team.
And now, though, positioning is taken as they move forward. They have Urel on the point. They're looking for Chromie. BFG dodged by the timeout. I think they expected the taunt to come down, but the timeout was too quick.
Oh, I think that was avoidable, though, especially in a situation like this where you can just wait until the timeout runs out and then drop all that damage. That was a little bit of a misplay, and now another important heroic ability not available. Anti-healing, though, from the Boil Strike onto Blaze. Has to use the bunker, forces out Varian, that is.
The Dragon Arrow, mostly dodged by the Siege Tactics of Mercy, at least. Actually, I think that was Nature's Cure, as Hammer re-sieges up. Here comes Blaze, does not land a stun onto Varian, who is tanking through it. Still gets rooted, though. Good knockback by Dia, and Kiaru is isolated again. Temporal Loop, though, onto Malfurion, who eats a huge amounts of damage, but still survives.
That had tried to anticipate where Malfurion was going towards, but unfortunately for him, that did not turn out so well. TWT in trouble, gets a mini stun from Dia, who's now outgunned and outnumbered himself. Gets to safety, though. Varian is not done chasing yet. Needs to be careful and know his limits.
He's doing okay, backs up. Chromie drops good damage onto Mercy, forces Mercy to unsiege and move away. Nicely done there, very effective.
And during all of that, we totally forgot to highlight that there is the Protector with 2 people. He gets all the bonus damage and 10 armor that it needs. Actually trying to pass by the wall and trying to go for that keep. If that one gets popped out, they're going to be in a really bad position. Malfurion and Li Ming, that is. Why did they even try to go in that deep? That was a big misplay.
Keep still alive if they don't even kill that. That's a disaster for TeamNut. Keep survives on no health, and KT get the double kill. That is some big comeback XP for KT, and now they move off onto the map looking for the healing pulse.
Why did they stutter step all the way to the right with that Protector? If they had just used their ranged abilities there, now Sergeant Hammer ends up falling as well, making it a triple for KT. But yeah, if they had just stayed there to the left-hand side and maybe used a couple of ranged abilities here and there, they wouldn't even have had to die there. That was a rookie misplay that happens in many quick matches in many Hero League games, but sometimes apparently in China and the pro scene as well.
Yeah, massive overcommitment there, not working out in their favor at all. But now, KT, they're still not at 16 yet. TeamNut still have that advantage, but they're still down a Sergeant Hammer as KT try to use the most of that timing. They have Mosh Pit available. Are they going to try and steal? Power Slide is used. Face Melt, Lornado, and ETC's just wrecked. He's taken way too much damage. Valkyria with the silence, and down he goes.
The problem is, can TeamNut actually salvage this situation? Can they actually run away as well? They do. So, a little bit of unclean plays from both teams here, again and again. Timeless had the right idea in mind, but he could have done that with any other warriors than ETC, I feel like. Varian would have been fine, tankier, Murden, Diablo, Garrosh, but ETC, his major weakness right now is his survivability on those, stationary points. With all the armor that he has, his health pool is still too little. So the Mosh Pit wasn't used either. And now with Mercy, of course, being just one step away. Are you kidding me right now, TeamNut? Okay, wait, this is enough.
Yeah, they get the keep finally, but KT, they're looking to maybe try and make a turnaround, but they need a Lotus for it, who's dropped super low. Good siege tactic by Hammer, but she's still eating so much Chromie damage. With the knockback on Kiaru, though, that might shut down this good teleport. Malthael will escape.
Yeah, nice escape there by TeamNut. They're proving to be so slippery, so elusive. And KT, they really want to land that engage, but they can't seem to be able to do so right now. Okay, Tetcher, the keep has been taken out immediately, and finally they got it. The experience lead is still there, 2 levels roughly, 1.5 levels I should say. So TeamNut is stabilizing. After giving their opponents an unintentional window of comeback, I think they have finally found their grip back on this game. What do you think?
I think you might be right. Being in control of the map, KT are able to at least are going to be able to at least take an even fight talent-wise. They're still levels behind, but that's not the worst thing. Top will be cleared up pretty reasonably. That's Fallen Shaman Camp will at least buy them some time. Yeah. So I do have... This could still go either way.
Oh, for sure.
If a decent double, triple kill, and we might be able to see KT actually move on for keeps. I doubt they can go for core, even if they get a full team wipe here, but they might be able to at least make a play.
I'm starting to get a little worried about that top lane here for KT as well. They have an entire siege camp pushing against them, which will buy so much space and will clean up the minions so much more quickly for the catapults to arrive. And if 3 catapults happen to go all the way to the core, this might be a problem. Here goes the Chromie damage. No Sergeant Hammer evacuates with siege tactics online.
Good knockback on Timeless. The Mosh Pit is interrupted. Everyone on KT is beginning to drop low. Lornado finally finishes off. Timeout from Chromie using the conveyor belt to escape. TeamNut takes the position and Hammer barely flips Chromie.
Okay, Chromie's starting to hurt, yo. Timeless is trying to close in the escape paths for Sergeant Hammer. That's really the kill they want to get, though. But it's now Kiaru and Timeless who say goodbye 1-for-1.
With 1-for-1 on the board, 35 to 49% in favor of KT, but TeamNut in position. But a good snipe from Chromie onto Yrel. This might allow us to make the play, but here's the movement onto Kiaru, who drops low, but Li Ming can't get the finishing blow.
She can't get the finishing blow. She can't get the resets rolling there either. Now, what is TeamNut trying to do? They need to prevent these teleports from happening. Look at Hanzo. Already made it back, though. So the core is safe for now, but they really smell that window of opportunity there. Lock that onto Chromie. They get one, almost. Roots are good. Bunker not close enough.
And resets for Li Ming. Kiaru gets taken out. TWD has nowhere to go. Down he goes. And we are going to have a pause.
It looks to me like TWT just disconnected when that kill was about to happen. So that was very unfortunate here. Pause immediately being locked down. But that was some heated action going on in that teamfight, Tetcher. Beautiful popping off by Li Ming. They've been waiting for that the entire time. All these teamfights, they tried to get those resets rolling, and finally they were able to do so. But it's safe to say that, once again, it is KT who just overextended a little too much, who overstayed their welcome, because with Hanzo's departure, they should have realized, you know what, their enemies are probably going to try to close in on us now.
They had the kill on the Yrel. They had the person advantage, but Hanzo having to retreat made it even again. And then with low health bars, it only takes 1 kill for Li Ming to win a fight.
Especially with Varian in the place. That is really the kind of situation that Varian excels in, right? You go in without that much disengage to really keep the taunt on distance. That's where you lock on the target. Li Ming is going to follow up with a nice burst combo. And yeah, that's basically all she wrote. By the way, can I just say that it feels good to see Chromie and Varian back in action. I know it might not be the most competitive of lineup for either team, but it just feels good to see those heroes back in the meta. At least in China.
Agreed.
Back in the game. I shouldn't say back in the meta.
it's my first time casting new Chromie, and it's so far been pretty effective. Hammer's been eating a lot of shots, so turns out that counter still works out, so good to know.
I mean, it's not nearly as lethal as it used to be, right? Don't get us wrong here, but it's still working out. Chromie just needs more time now.
Yeah, this seems to be... Yeah, more time to stack up, but the early Bronze Talon's double attack is still pretty reasonable. Actually gives her some decent sustain damage, so Hammer has to react a little bit quicker sometimes, which once Temporal Loop's online, it's going to allow you to make some damage. It's, like you said, it's going to be longer before she reaches her one-shot status.
Yep.
But she's still pretty fine right now.
Yeah, seems like she's doing okay. She's doing alright. But yeah. Okay, the game has not been decided yet, mind you, although TeamNut just took a big win in that bottom lane, probably resulting in not just a protector, but also in a pretty nice experience lead, because they're going to have staggered deaths. That's the word I was looking for the opposing team, and I don't think there's anything KT can do to prevent this from happening. So what can they do? Did they have the tools available? I feel like the Tornadoes actually have been on point for the most part. It was just Timeless, I think, being a little too aggressive. He needs to realize that he doesn't have that panic button, no Divine Shield, right? No Divine Palm to save his life. And also Blaze is taking an unnecessary amount of damage every single time.
Kiara is definitely struggling with sustain, so that is definitely an issue, which once again, if you're not pretty high up on health, then Li Ming just gets one kill and suddenly everyone explodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the frontliners appear to be struggling a little bit. Both are very tanky and very sustainy, but I think I don't really know what to say. It's just that Li Ming has been doing a very good job. I think there's just so much onus on that.
Oh, absolutely true. I think Li Ming has been popping off with those wave of forces in waves of force, particularly always dislocating people, putting them in the right place, and also interrupting Chromie's combos, right? Whenever she's trying to land that W, that Sandblast, a well-timed wave of force can actually put all those abilities back on cooldown. So really cool to see that.
Cool to see indeed. So we're just waiting to get back into the game, ladies and gentlemen, where we will most likely see the conclusion of TeamNut scoring their first point. Unless KT can pull off what would be a spectacular defense, which I would be quite excited to see.
Let's put it this way. The Nuts have never looked this good. This is their victory to take, right? They are in a commanding lead right now, not only in terms of experience, but also with that protector. They might even have a game-ending opportunity there in the bottom, trying to march through that keep all the way to the core. But yeah, it is TeamNut, man. They have had a couple of good games in the past already, but looking good is one thing. Closing the victory out and getting that win all the way is a different story.
Exactly. So let's talk about this variant, because I know you probably want to, quite frankly.
Yep.
So far, the lockdowns have been a big reason that the frontliners have been struggling so much. That consistent low cooldown taunt from the very first minute he had it was able to maybe not get kills, but it was able to put so much pressure on the front lines that they became targets.
And I think what many people... Oh, the game has actually recommenced.
Hooray.
That's pretty good. Let's see. Protector status, 64 to 77. So they're definitely going to get it. But yeah, Varian is oftentimes underrated in my opinion. Like, oh, Archon Power Unlimited here, by the way. That is the game-ending move, I think. They're gearing up for a siege.
It's certainly a commitment. It's also helping with this. That's kind of cool. Although I can't help but feel that Arcane Missiles would have actually killed that quicker. But either way, they're able to take that Protector on board. With Archon Pure Power, Malthael should really not be the one in this. This should be a Tui or your Rel.
Yeah, Varian is fine. Of course, the main tank usually, takes up a similar role as the Protector, trying to hold the front line. And there we go. Look at that superior range coming in from the Archon, melting down those buildings to the best of Li Ming's ability. Superior range.
Slightly underestimating the range there, so was out of range of that fort. But they will take down the keep, and this is going to allow them to move on to core. Everyone is alive for KT. They need to start burning down this Protector if they want any chance of the defense. Chromie pings in the damage, Timeless moving in as well, but Archon Pure Power starting to pile on the pressure. Transforms though, and quick reset.
That is the reset they were looking for. Look at Timeless melting there in that fight. There goes another Archon beam. Just channeling down on Kiaru, getting another kill. Doesn't even bother for the resets. Malthael, that is, doesn't even bother about the damage either. It's just too good, too much. And I think TeamNut are going to take this with a core falling down, Tetcher.
Bad goes down. That was basically all of the remaining damage they had. That is GG, and TeamNut take the win, and they will take the tie. A single point. They no longer have 0, but they're still very much in last place.
It's already a big win for them. Finally getting those points in, even if it's just 1. But also, more importantly, I think for them right now, it's the mental, the salvation, the redeeming factor, right? Finally, they proved to themselves that they can indeed beat a team in HGC China and walk away with a point. And who knows? They have one more series to play today. Maybe with that motivational factor, they can actually pose a serious threat to the A team. But yeah, KT, man, what an unfortunate turn of events. And I hate to say it yet again, Tetcher. ETC, I know he's been doing a lot of work in other regions and in Open Division as well. But in China, maybe you can shed some light onto this as well, what the difference is. But in China, it just doesn't seem to work out.
I mean, I didn't hate it in this game, but it turns out, and you're never going to hear me say this often, the Varian was the correct pick. It was a solid lockdown, which meant that the usually squishier ETC could be less reliant on his healing escape, the anti-healing as well. So ETC could not use his escape as often. He couldn't use his peeling as often because he's silenced. He can't heal as much because of the anti-healing. It was consistent pressure that turned ETC from what would be a solid frontline tank due to all that disruption into basically a bruiser. And when you have 2 bruisers, your frontline is too vulnerable.
Yeah, and I can't help but agree with you, Tetcher. I think Varian was... Like, oftentimes people underestimate the peeling value, the defensive playmaking capabilities of a Varian, right? He's still known as that hyper-aggressive lockdown tank that basically enables other burst damage heroes in the backline. But no, he can also be played pretty defensively, you know, peeling for the Sergeant Hammer. And just when ETC was going in himself, only then did he drop the taunt, right? To interrupt the mosh pit, to interrupt the follow-up knockback, for example, with that ETCW. So it's really cool to see how they strayed away from that one-dimensional Varian playstyle and actually countered in a very unpredictable way what KT offered. So really cool to see. I still won't say that Varian is top tier. I still won't say that he's meta right now, but in certain situations, when you just execute it cleanly enough, it can still work, at least in China.
Exactly. Completely agree. So, with that, nice control being gained there. The TeamNut will take a single point. KT, they sit at a solid 2 points now, 1 point of TeamNut. Both of them still 3 points behind the A team, who still have to play today.
Yeah, so the A team is going to show up later today, ladies and gentlemen, and they're going to face TeamNut. And that could be bad news for KT if TeamNut was able to sneak away another point, maybe even a 3-pointer, depending on how well the A team shows up today. So yeah, but while we're waiting for the MVP vote, and there we actually go, we summited 12 kills to 6. That is a pretty good performance by TeamNut. 0 structures actually for KT. Can you believe it?
Yeah, that was... They had a chance. There was a couple fights where it could have gone their way, but unfortunately they were just outplayed by the early structure lead that TeamNut were able to have. And of course this had to be Malthael. Those Leeming resets, excuse me, were very effective, incredibly high damage. The outcome pure power at the end was interesting. Like, oh, I'm against a Chromie. I should pick the less mobile talent. But it worked out in his favor and he was able to pick up kill after kill.
Probably some of the nuttiest wave of forces there as well that I ever saw. Definitely kudos to him, to Malthael, formerly known as Oasis, by the way, just in case some of you guys remember him, the looks of him. So yeah, good stuff coming in from Malthael and his boys from TeamNut. Definitely earning that victory. Didn't cheese it by any means. That was a solid victory. And speaking of solid things to come, Tetcher, we're going to have another crazy series coming up right after this.
That we do. We're going to have another battle at the top of the table. We already had BTG versus the One, where it was a 1-1. Now we have BTG versus SPT. That is going to be intense.